Everything's negotiable. It's now clear we can draw one of two conclusions from last night's budget. Either Wayne Swan and Julia Gillard are completely stupid, or they think we are. Remember at the election that brought them to power, the budget was in surplus, $22 billion. There was $70 billion in cash stashed away. Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard forecast higher surpluses. We've had nothing but massive deficits in each budget. They brought down, and indeed, the 2009-10 deficit of $55 billion was the largest in at least 40 years. Last night, another $50 billion. Nonetheless, Julia Gillard is always going forward, so miraculously they talk surpluses in 2 years. To get there, the budget papers are predicting an increase in government revenue between now and 2012-13 of $73 billion. An increase in revenue of $73 billion. Where the hell's this coming from? Or 24% in 2 years. And that includes a 36% increase in company tax receipts. But I go too quickly. When Kevin Rudd rolled John Howard, he promised tax cuts. They haven't been delivered. He promised root and branch tax reform. Forget it. He promised lower grocery prices. Forget it. Lower petrol prices. Forget it. How the hell can you trust anything these people tell you? Revenue forecasts made only 6 months ago by an utterly discredited Treasury have been way too high. But, doesn't matter, spending goes on unchecked. Waste is something else again. For 4 years, the Rudd-Gillard government have seen revenue go up by 15%, expenditure by 39%. Just ripping up our money. And we were told we'd have a tough budget. Alan Kohler, writing today, says any decent CEO would be embarrassed by this. There's been an $8 billion blowout in the deficit since a mid-year economic and fiscal review last November. An $8 billion blowout in the deficit and a $10 billion blowout in next year's deficit on the forward estimates. But they keep spending. But miraculously, we're going to return to surplus. So you'd have to have a $26 billion turnaround in 12 months. The Treasurer said last night, hang on, we're good fellas here, we're making savings of $22 billion. He said it several times. It's actually $21.7 billion over 4 years. He didn't add up the new spending, though. $18.9 billion. So the real savings of less than $3 billion. And those are on the never-never after the next election. Tough budget. Savings of less than $3 billion. So this stuff, this flagrant waste is going to go on and on. It's hard to get your head around how stupid they think we are. To get the budget into surplus, we'll need an increase in government revenue between now and 2012-13 of $73 billion. An increase in revenue of 24% in 2 years. We're going to get Saudi Arabia here or something? Between 28-9 and 2010-11, tax receipts for the current year were revised down by $54 billion. The forward estimates were wrong. And revised down by a further $45 billion for 2011-12. The forward estimates were wrong. Somehow or other, though, we're going to find $73 billion between now and 2012-13. But of course, the people who keep Julia Gillard in power didn't miss out last night. $2.8 million for an indoor sports stadium in Oakeshot's electorate. $1.8 billion for prioritising, their words, regional health and hospitals. Which hospitals? Port Macquarie and Tamworth. The electorates of Oakeshott and Windsor. Then the song and dance and crocodile tears last night about the cost of natural disasters. $6.6 billion to be spent on disaster relief. Not enough, in my view. The Queensland people need more than that. But however, $6.6 billion. Government waste would cover that in 2 minutes. Building the Education Revolution has a documented waste of anything up to $5 billion. Pink Bats, $2.45 billion. Remember, people died as a result of that program. The solar panel rebate, a blowout of $850 million. So what's that? $9 billion? Then we find, as Scott Morrison told us earlier today, the asylum seeker budget is blown out by $1.75 billion. So we're heading towards $11 billion. The budget for managing asylum seekers has increased $1.75 billion over the last year. That's on the forward estimates. And in 2011-12, we're not there yet, an increase of $819 million over last year's estimate on managing the asylum seeker issue. The budget for John Howard's management, $100 million. 6 people in detention, 6 refugees in detention when Kevin Rudd became Prime Minister. 6. Now, over 6,000. And the government thinks it's off the hook by warning us that they've got problems with floods and Cyclone Yasi. The waste is staggering. If it wasn't for the waste, Sydney could pay for the North Western Parramatta rail link in one hit and then set top boxes so that whether pensioners want it or not, they'll have to move to digital television. $350 per person price tag, and the boxes can be bought for $30. I've said 1,000 times, I'll say it again. There's only one thing that can solve all of this, and that's a general election. Let the people decide. Our country's too good to be managed in this way, or mismanaged.